Welcome back to In the Big Inning, the YouTube channel dedicated to Jewish baseball. And today's episode is called The Impossible Teammate. Now, why would I call it The Impossible Teammate? Well, imagine this. Imagine being a teammate of Babe Ruth and Nolan Ryan. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? Well, sure enough, there was one person who was a teammate, and not just like a one-game call-up teammate, but a regular multi-season teammate of both Babe Ruth and Nolan Ryan. So today we are going to talk about Jimmie Reese. Now, Jimmie Reese, he was born in 1901 in New York, and he was raised in Los Angeles. His original name was James Herman Solomon, but he did change it because of the fear of anti-Semitism in baseball. He started about 12 years old. He was a bat boy. Now, in those days, bat boys were called mascots. That's actually the original term, mascot. He was a bat boy with the California Angels, not the Angels that you see today. Obviously, they weren't around at that time, but it was a PCL team, and he started with them as a bat boy and made his way eventually onto the Oakland Oaks in the minor league system. So that was his first time playing. A few years later, he became a teammate of Babe Ruth in 1930 and 31 was when he played with the Yankees. There's a little bit of different stories as to how he and Babe Ruth became roommates. He was much more mild-mannered, and the antics of Babe Ruth are pretty well known. So it's believed that the Yankees wanted him to kind of keep Babe Ruth under control. You can probably bet how well that worked. Jimmie Reese even said later in his life, I wasn't Babe Ruth's roommate, I was the roommate to his luggage, because Babe was always out partying quite heavily. So he did quite well. He was a backup second baseman, and Tony Lazzeri, the great second baseman for the Yankees, was the regular second baseman for the team. But he did, in his first season, get in 77 games, and he had a batting average of .346. So he carried himself quite well. He went to the minors, and he was in the minors really eventually as a coach. He was actually a coach for the rest of his life. He was also a scout. He spent some time as a manager, but he himself said he didn't really like the manager role that much. In 1978, he was signed by the California Angels as a conditioning coach. Now, he would remain with the Angels for the rest of his life. So it's so interesting that his life came full circle, that he would be back with the Angels, where as a minor league team, he started as a bat boy. And this was where he struck up a great friendship with Nolan Ryan. There's actually a card dedicated to Nolan Ryan and the friendship. This one is called Great Friends. And they were actually so close as friends. Ryan said that Jimmie Reese was the nicest guy he ever met. Nolan Ryan named his second son Reese after his good close friend Jimmie Reese. One of the things that he was very good at, Jimmie Reese, was he liked to do the batting practice and fielding warm-ups with the Angels players. And he was known to be multi-talented with a fungo bat. So this is a fungo bat, and a fungo bat is lighter and thinner than most bats. So you can kind of see that it doesn't have the same weight. This is how coaches can keep hitting balls into the field over and over and over again and not get their arms tired. So fungo bats, you couldn't use them for a proper at-bat. They're not made for actual play. This fungo bat belongs to Jerry Weinstein, who was the coach of the Israeli baseball team. But he was so talented. Reese was so talented with a fungo bat. he was known to do batting practice pitching with the fungo bat. He could hit off of a fungo bat and pitch strikes. So that's pretty amazing talent. Now, one good story that I heard, there was a 1920s celebrity dinner. This is back when he was a player. And this is when celebrities and players, play together, these pro-am type games. And the celebrity pitcher was Harry Ruby, and the celebrity catcher was Ike Danning. And I talked earlier about Harry Danning, his brother, who was probably the greatest catcher in Jewish baseball history. Ike was his brother. Not the same type of career, but later I'll talk about him when I talk about Harry. I do have an interesting card with him too. But anyway, Harry Ruby and Ike Danning were pitching, and Jimmie Reese was playing on the other team. And Ruby and Danning were both Jewish. So before the game, they decided that they would openly say which pitches to throw. They decided to say it in Yiddish so that the other team wouldn't know what they were saying. They didn't realize that Jimmie Reese was Jewish, and they went up to him after. Jimmie Reese hit 4 for 4, solid hits, and they went up to him after and they said, it was like, you seem to know which pitch was coming. How did you know? And he says, well, I guess you didn't realize that my original name was James Solomon. And so it was a good laugh for the three of them. Jimmie Reese had a lot of recognition during his career. He was recognized as the longest person to ever wear a major league uniform. But he also had his number 50 retired by the California Angels. Here's a funny item that I have. It's kind of ironic in a way. So it's an autographed postcard. And aside from Leo DeRocher at the bottom, look at the three at the top. Okay, this is a Babe Ruth first day of issue. And it's Mel Allen, Ben Chapman, and Jimmie Reese. So what's funny about this is Mel Allen, of course, was Jewish also. So you have Allen and Chapman, and then Allen and Reese. And in the middle, you've got Ben Chapman, who is pretty well known as one of the biggest racists in baseball. And of course, he got that reputation while he was a manager of the Phillies, but also when you watch the movie 42, he's the manager on the Phillies who's making all the racial insults against Jackie Robinson. He loved Jews as much as he loved every other minority group. So you can imagine what he was like. But there he is with an autograph between the two. So here are a couple of great cards and one other item for Jimmie Reese. So this card I really like, and it just shows you. So here, this is the Reese and Nolan card. Remember I said that Nolan named his son after Jimmie Reese. So this is a card from the 91 Pacific Trading Company. And what it goes to show you is if you have a focus collection and you like to do storytelling with your collection, you can spend $2 on a card and it says more than some of the much more expensive cards because it just tells a great story. So there is a whole description on the back, but it just talks about him and his sons. The next item is this 1995 lapel pin. So I don't know anybody who would actually wear that on their lapel even in those days. But just another cool item. It looks like it might be a TV company or something because it's got some games on the schedule in the back and it says Prime Sports West. So it might be the games that they were broadcasting at that time. 94 Upper Deck. All right, that's a nice card. Nice picture of him way back from some of the times like the 1920s that we saw already. So I really like one of those all-timer cards. For someone like Jimmie Reese, that's a nice card. The back is kind of nice too. It's got that little picture of him. Great design. So I like that card. I love how Topps put in this, well, a lot of years, but especially in the 70s here, you can see two cards.
that were for the manager and all of the coaches. And you can see Jimmie Reese, third one down as a coach. I like these for a few reasons. I think it's nice to honor those coaches who wouldn't usually get recognition. And also I love the names. So look at the names. Bobby Winkles, Salty Parker. I mean, fantastic names. So that's a great card. And then I also got a similar one for the 74. And I decided to go PSA on this one. I might as well. It wasn't that much more expensive, but that's a nice looking card too. So those are some other memorabilia pieces for Jimmie Reese.
Jimmie Reese passed away in 1994, still an official member of the California Angels coaching staff. On his plaque, it still says the name Jimmie Reese, his official original name, long gone to history. I hope you enjoyed learning about the impossible teammate, Jimmie Reese. Thank you very much for watching this episode of In the Big Inning. Look forward to seeing you next time.